So I saw this post on Instagram this morning and check it out. So this chart is showing the median home prices of Vancouver real estate from 1983 to 1988. And I'm going to break this down just in a second here, but if you haven't already, please do subscribe to my channel and like this video if you do enjoy Canadian real estate content and content about my local market of Abbotsford and the Fraser Valley, as well as obviously Vancouver. Now back to this. So check this out. From 1983 to 1988, we saw East Side Vancouver go up roughly 50% from 94 to 145K. West Side Vancouver with nearly a full 2x, 165 to $326,000. North Van went up roughly 50%, and South Delta, which is Ladner-Tsawwassen area, up 50% as well. Now I'm going to assume by the way that this chart looks that this is probably off some news story, and it's probably being presented in a very negative way just by the nature, the way that the news usually is everything is kind of presented in a negative kind of nature. So I'm going to assume that people are pissed off about how expensive real estate has gotten within that 5 years during this time. And the funny thing about this is at this time, a detached home in East Vancouver is only $145,000. Yet I bet if I go look back to this time and search up real estate news stories, you're going to find a bunch of people complaining about how expensive the housing was, even though you could buy a detached house in Vancouver for 150 grand. Oddly enough, I ended up finding the exact news story that this chart was pulled from because I thought I'd just search it up anyways, and I ended up finding exactly that. Anyway, what's even funnier is you hear people complaining about foreign buyers in the 80s. Foreign buyers. You still hear people today complaining about foreign buyers. They're not even allowed to buy here. They're literally banned. But 40 years ago, they're literally complaining about the exact same things that we still complain about today. Back in the 80s, we were complaining that it was hard to afford a detached home in Vancouver. In 2007, we were complaining about the fact that it's hard to afford a townhome. Then in 2015, it was hard to afford a 2-bedroom condo. Today, we're complaining that we cannot even afford a 1-bedroom condo. So what do you guys think we're going to be complaining about in the next 5 years? History has been repeating itself, especially in Vancouver real estate, time and time again. And, you know, I don't feel comfortable going with history, like betting for it, but I definitely feel a whole lot more uncomfortable betting against it. In 1989, a $150,000 detached home was ridiculous. And then in 2007, it was ridiculous. And then in 2015, it was ridiculous. And now today, what is it? Ridiculous. But what's probably going to happen in the next 5 years? Prices are probably going to be up 40, 30, 40, 50% again. And then we're going to be saying all of the stuff that we're saying today, except 5 years from now. And in fact, the supply-demand imbalance when it comes to how many homes there are available to buy or rent in comparison to the amount of people moving here is the worst it's ever been in this country. So if I had to bet, my bet would be that in 3 to 5 years, prices are likely going to be substantially higher than they are today. I mean, just based on that alone, the supply and demand imbalance, I just don't see where all this supply is going to come from that is going to push housing prices down. I could be wrong, but I mean, 40 years ago, we're complaining about the exact same things that we're still complaining about today, yet prices on average are $1.9 million higher in Vancouver. Maybe even more, maybe even like 2.5 million. Anyways, it's the same story over and over and over again, guys. No matter how many times we've looked at the price of Vancouver real estate and been like, that's ridiculous, it's too high, it's a debt bubble, it needs to come back down, blah, blah, blah. And every time, the price has literally doubled from that point going forward. So, I don't know, guys. I think we're not going to be complaining about being able to afford a 1-bedroom condo in 5 years. I think we're going to be complaining about even affording anything at all. They're probably going to be building 290 square foot studios, and that's going to be your starter unit going forward in the next 5 years. And I don't mean to make this sound like a dystopian, crappy world or whatever, but I mean, that's just the reality. It's just people have been getting squeezed out of bigger properties and into smaller properties every 5 years for the last 40 years. And I reckon that's probably going to be the story once again going forward. So if you guys enjoyed this content, subscribe to the channel, like this video. I'm that Agent Kelly, and I'm making moves to move you. Peace.